Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the NFL Draft Triple Take presented by UPMC. Mike Prisuta, Dale Lolley, and Matt Williamson with you to continue helping to get you ready for the NFL Draft coming up at the end of April. And we have come full circle. We've gone through each and every position and given you our top five list. So now we're going to do a little further review, as they like to say on Sundays. We're going to kind of take a look back position by position and see if things have changed, and if so, how dramatically. And that being the case, we're going to start with the interior offensive line today. And just to kind of catch everybody up, we'll take first a look back. Dale, let's start with you. Your interior offensive line the first time around: Jemery Saylor from Georgia, Darian Kennard from Kentucky, Zion Johnson, Boston College, Kenyon Green, Texas A&M, and Tyler Linderbaum, Iowa. How have things changed since you came up with that list?
Well, I think Zion Johnson, to me, may have moved up to that number one spot with his workouts at the combine and his Senior Bowl practices. He tested in the top five athletically in every single athletic thing that they did at the combine. Checked in at 6'3", 312 pounds. So you check off that box in terms of the size. I think there's a lot to like there. The guy was an electrical engineering major at Boston College. So, he's pretty smart as well. I think he has moved past those other two guys to maybe jump up to that number one interior line spot. And then I kind of dropped Tyler Linderbaum down a little bit. Would have liked to have seen him come in at bigger than 6'2", 296 at the combine. I know that they listed him last year at Iowa playing at 289 pounds. That's, guys typically will try to if there are questions about the size or things of that nature, they'll come in as heavy as they can. Something tells me 296 might be as heavy as Tyler Linderbaum can get. And
he might have rocks in his pockets.
He might have had, or drank a whole bunch of water before he went in to get weight.
Right.
Love the prospect. I mean, you watch the tape, you say that's a really good football player. But I think because of that and his arm size, his 31-inch arms, that you look at it and say, well, maybe he's definitely a center only. But I think it kind of limits where he can go in the first round of the draft as well. And so, he's a guy that I think is going to be, beauty's going to be in the eye of the beholder, obviously. And I still love the player. But he's going to have to fall into the right system.
Matt, you had the same five guys initially, counting it down from 5 to 1: Saylor, Kennard, Green, Johnson, and Linderbaum. How do you see it now?
Yeah, I'm with Dale. I think he's still a phenomenal prospect, Linderbaum, but the short arms and the lack of bulk are concerning and has to go to the right system. I also think Zion Johnson, I don't know what you put in the negative column for that guy. I mean, it's everything he does very well. And, just to stick with the center theme a little bit, which Zion can also do that now, I'm liking the center class a lot more than I did initially. I mean, two guys that didn't make my list: Luke Fortner from Kentucky, Dylan Parham from Memphis. My riser is a center that we'll get to. So warming up to that group.
Yeah, let's get to your riser. The guy with maybe the best nickname, not just in this combine, but in the history of combines, Cam Jurgens from Nebraska. He makes his own beef jerky. His nickname is Beef Jerky.
It's phenomenal. And he had to be my riser just in case the Steelers do draft him and he comes and sits down with Dale and I after. He's going to bring us jerky. Right, yeah. Exactly. So I
he brought it to the combine. He was giving it.
Oh, yeah. That's what
he was giving it to the teams in the interviews.
Right. He'd go team to team, bring a big bag of jerky. I mean, how can that not make you the popular guy? But we mentioned Linderbaum. Jurgens is kind of in that mold, but, a round or two later, maybe 3 rounds later, in that he's a 3-year starter from Nebraska. This guy can really run. I mean, you see blocks with him 40 yards downfield running with the smaller guys. And again, he's not a power player. He's more of a zone Shanahan type guy, but most teams in the league are running some form of that.
And Matt, your faller is Kenyon Green of A&M.
It's a little harsh on Green. He's a really good player. He's just didn't have a great combine. I had a hard time coming up with a faller in this class, to be honest with you. I still think he's probably a first-round pick. he's not really that zone guy. I mean, he's a come off the ball, put you on your back type of dude, has a little bit of work to do with his pass protection. But I still had him in my top 3 when we did this initially for interior. He still would be, but the combine wasn't his best friend.
Yeah, I went Fortner for my riser. I was glad you mentioned him. There are a ton of centers, and Fortner, a guy who almost made my initial list. I don't know how much better he's gotten since I did this the first time, but I just kind of wanted to include him this time around. Really smart guy, tough guy, great instincts. Kentucky, another one of those programs that is getting it together and really starting to crank out some talent. I went with Salyer as my faller just because he didn't do anything at the combine. Now, pulling the curtain back a little bit, we are recording this episode on the day of Georgia's Pro Day. So for all I know, he's lighting it up as we speak. But he's falling for me until I get those numbers and get a chance to look and see if he checks some of the athletic boxes that you're going to want to see at events such as Pro Days. He's certainly got the tape, Dale. Yeah,
imagine that, an offensive guy from Georgia. He's another one of those mashers. I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and he's just a big, strong guy. When he gets his hands on you, he gets his hands on you. You don't get away. Played some tackle at Georgia. They'll probably have to kick him inside at the NFL level, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of watching Ramon Foster, another guy that was, another SEC guy that got bumped inside. That was a right tackle. Has that prerequisite size and nastiness that you want at that position.
Now, where did Ramon play his college ball?
That would be at Tennessee.
Yeah, you can't mention Ramon without giving the alma mater a shout.
There you go.
SEC's not enough. Ramon, go Vols, baby. We included sleepers this time around too, and this is always fun when we do these second looks. Dale, let's stick with you. Who's a little sleepy but starting to wake up at the interior line position?
Another guy I didn't know a lot about going to the Senior Bowl, and then I watched him down there, and he was feisty and nasty. It was Cole Strange from Tennessee Chattanooga. He was also asked to bump in and play center at the Senior Bowl and did so. And he was a guy that you watched him and he would lose. If he lost his first go round in a one-on-one matchup, he would always win the second one.
Yep.
And there was one time where he, they were doing them 2 at a time, and he called I think it was Jones from UConn back for a third one, and Jones ended up winning it, and everybody was giving there was a lot of chirping back and forth, but big, strong, physical guy, very competitive, nasty, just a guy that I think is kind of really solidified himself as a day 2 guy.
He was my sleeper as well, and for those exact reasons. I just like the refuse to accept the loss mentality and that was happening all the time. They made a big deal about that on television, the NFL Network broadcasting the Senior Bowl practice wrap-up shows in the game. Like a guy with that kind of attitude, 6'5", 307. Got to be competitive first and foremost. He certainly got that box checked. Matt, who'd you come up with for a sleeper in the interior offensive line?
Yeah, Zach Tom from Wake Forest is a guy I didn't know a lot about the first time around. 2-year starter at left tackle for Wake Forest, but he doesn't have long arms. He's only 6'4", and everyone seems to be projecting him to center, which is interesting because he's really intelligent. He runs really well, good verticals and numbers at the combine, a little bit high cut, more of a pass protector type. And again, he's more of a movement-based lineman. He's not a 350-pound masher, but those type of guys stick nowadays.
That they do, and a lot to like just about everywhere. This is going to be a really intriguing draft. Players at every position, and in some cases, a variety at every position. It just depends on what you like at each particular position. That's going to wrap up our further review of the interior offensive line. I want to remind everybody you can catch all of these types of shows on all of the Steelers' social media platforms. We're going to continue to double back position by position as we continue trying to get you ready for the NFL draft in April. Thanks for finding us, however, and wherever you found us. Until next time, for Matt Williamson and Dale Lolley, I'm Mike Prisuta. This has been the NFL Draft Triple Take presented by UPMC.